Everyone is having a fantastic weekend and you are ready to start the week off on a positive note. Speaking of, we're almost halfway through July, which, oh my goodness, I feel like, well, it was just the 4th of July last weekend. And now here we are. It's already the 12th, and we are just racing through July of 2026. Um, into the second half of the year, which is crazy. So anyway, what I want to talk about tonight is the concept of giving up to go up, as well as understanding that it's really all about creating consistency and small changes over time that really add up to those big results. And so when we talk about what we have to give up to go up, we're really kind of thinking about the sacrifices that you make, maybe temporarily, but then it becomes a lifestyle change. So you're not necessarily sacrificing things that are non negotiables, obviously, because we talk about having those non negotiables, but we sacrifice things like binge watching TV to start reading our personal development. We sacrifice things like late night snacks to replace them with proper nutrition throughout the day. And so when we talk about you have to give up to go up, some things, yes, are temporary. You may have to pass on something that you might normally want to do on a normal basis to get to a goal quicker. Then once you're at that goal, you may not have to pass up on it quite as much. But it's really working on rewiring your brain. And so when we think about that in terms of the 7-step signature system, because you have to have systems in place if you want to be successful. That is, I mean, that's true with anything that we're doing with our lives, right? In business, in really just functioning, right? So I think about having systems in place at home for what I want to get done. Okay. So let's say, even just traveling, right? Systems in place for getting through the airport smoothly and having certain things in place. Like I know I take this when I travel. And so these are all these things. So I travel a lot, right? So one of the things that I've done is I've created a whole travel charging kit. So I don't have to unplug all of my stuff all the time. I just have a separate set of chargers that I just throw that in my bag and we're good. Computer chargers, cell phone chargers, all of the above. And I say that to say, whoever has the best systems makes the most progress or wins the most business, whatever it is. So when we think about our 7-step signature system, it really encompasses the what you eat, what you think, and what you do. And when we talk about what you have to give up to go up, you've got to give up your bad habits. But the beautiful thing about giving up to go up when it comes to your health is that you're giving up things that aren't serving you. They're not good for you. And so once you go up, then you find yourself saying, well, I don't really want the things that weren't good for me. And I had a conversation with somebody today that it was really interesting because they said we were talking about sports, and she had told me, she said, I was going to go to the soccer games down in Miami, but I decided I wasn't going to go because I already know that I don't know if my liver could handle that. And it was interesting to me because her mind automatically went to partying while she was at the soccer games. And there's nothing wrong with that if that's what she chooses to do. I'm not knocking that. But my thought process when I talk about going to a sporting event is never how much can I drink or can my liver handle it, right? Because I've created different habits in life. And so it's just interesting the perspective of different things. And so when you talk about giving up to go up, especially when it relates to your health, think about things that are not serving you. We talk about this all the time. What are the away behaviors that are moving you away from your goal versus the toward behaviors that move you towards your goal. And it just got me really thinking about when we're deciding what we're giving up, you have to have something to replace it, because the reason we do certain things is because they have a function, right? Everything we do has a function. That's a behavior, right? Behaviors have functions. And so if we don't replace the bad habit with something that's going to help move us toward our goals that serves the same function, that's when we fall back into the bad habits. Because you might can say no a couple of times, but then if you never come up with something that serves the same function, that's a positive thing, that's when that step 5 behavior modification doesn't truly kick in. So think about what you get from your bad habits or your negative away behaviors. So you think about binge watching TV. Now, does that mean you're never going to binge watch? No. You're allowed to do it. It's just you don't need to be doing it every single night. And what does it typically get you? It's mindless entertainment, more than likely. And so when you think about it, what's something that replaces the binge watching that serves the same function? Is it maybe binge watching something that is a personal development, something positive? Or, and this is something I did with a couple of my friends a long time ago, back in my early 20s, we wanted to watch this show on Netflix. And what we decided was we could only watch it if we were doing cardio. So then I had to make that agreement with myself that, hey, listen, you don't watch an episode unless you're doing cardio. Well, guess what? I still got to watch what I wanted to watch, but I could only do it when I was doing cardio. So I stacked it with something that was going to move me toward my goal. And then it still provided that same entertainment. And so you have to really think about what's going to replace that and serve the same function. And maybe some of it is just getting a routine in place. So you're still going to allow yourself to scroll on social media for a little bit, but maybe you set a timer and it's, hey, you get X amount of time a day to mindlessly scroll. You don't need to be doing it for 2 hours a day, right? What's moving you towards your goal? And so really think about what are those behaviors that you're doing that maybe you need to either A, limit, or B, eliminate altogether. But the key piece is, what are you going to replace it with that's going to serve the same function? And so what's typically the function of eating the comfort food? Maybe it's convenience. Okay, maybe the takeout and whatever is just a matter of convenience. And so how can you create meals that are on plan that are still as convenient? That was a huge factor for me when I first started the program. I needed it to be convenient because I wasn't going to spend hours meal prepping. I just wasn't. And I knew that. So I had to find a way to figure out, okay, how are we going to make things convenient? So that's going to serve the same purpose. Maybe it's the initial rush of energy you get, or the rush of dopamine, whatever it is that you get from eating the sugar or whatever. So you have to find a way to replace that with something else. And a good way to do that might be you get a similar hit of endorphins and when you're working out, right? And I know that's not the same as eating a piece of chocolate, right? So maybe you switch to dark chocolate and you have one square, right? So it serves the same purpose and the same function, but it's a healthier alternative. So just think about things that you can do, but just remember, if you want lasting behavior change and that consistent results over a long period of time, that's where you have to really figure out, how am I going about replacing the negative habits with a positive habit that serves the same function? And what makes it a little bit more difficult, not impossible, but difficult to replace, like the eating of the chocolate or the candy or ice cream, whatever, is because it's such an automatic reinforcing behavior, which means you do it because it feels good. You want the rush, right? So, what's something you can replace it with that gives you the same joy and that gives you the same comfort feeling, but maybe for a longer time? So, really think about that. And that's what I want you to reflect on this week, is look at all the behaviors that are stopping you from achieving your goals. And just think about it. Be very honest with yourself. What are things in place that are keeping me from achieving my goal? Because there has to be something, right? Or if you're on the right track, what do you need to continue to do? What's working that's helping get you towards your goal? And you need to make sure you stay locked in and dialed in on that. But if you're not making progress toward your goal, what is it that you need to be doing or that you're not doing that's stopping you? What do you feel like is stopping you? And I wrote that question down, and let me see if I can find it. Yeah. Okay. So this is the question that I want to leave you with, right? What do you think will be necessary to have that done by the end of this month? Meaning, what do you think will be necessary to create that momentum, that habit? Now, the habit's not going to be totally created by the end of the month, but what do you think will be necessary to have that habit in place or on its way to being in place by the end of the month? And have you set those benchmarks in how you're going to measure that? And that's how you're going to achieve any goal that you have. You're going to get dialed in and focused on the little steps that it's going to take to create that consistent action over time. All right. So that is what I'm going to leave you with for these next 2 weeks. So we will be back here July 26th. All right. So July 26th, we will be back here with class. No class next week. July 26th. So really think about these next 2 weeks and start implementing. What is it? What's going to be necessary for you to achieve what you want to achieve? What things do you need to put in place? All right. Write them down, send them to me, put them in the comments if you want to do that. But we will see you back here July 26th, 7 p.m. Eastern. And in the meantime, I will see you in your coaching sessions. If you're in a coaching program, I will see you in the comments. Feel free to reach out, text, call if you need anything. So I appreciate each and every one of you. I hope you have a safe 2 weeks. And again, we'll be back here July 26th at 7 p.m. Eastern. Have a fantastic couple weeks, everyone. and I will see you soon. Bye.